This is the continuation of my story Remember Your Name. Stanisław Barszczak, the most modern fun, can turn into the noble pleasure of the survival of mankind. So a little story of big things. There are never enough resources to achieve the goal. There are so many types of love that you don't know where to turn to define it. Love is a few days whim and a relationship between two indifferent people, a feeling of disrespect, a social flirtation, a cold habit, a romantic fantasy, and finally a sudden desire which is finally followed by a reluctance. We call 100 different illusions and chimeras love. But let's look at the yard of the 21st century. Russia is at war with Ukraine. Someone said God did not give them either 24 caliber guns or tanks, and they themselves refurbished the tanks and works to kill each other. What can I do with it? We need dialogue in a better group. Think about it. A pair of eyes does not improve our condition. With one eye, we see both the good and the bad side of life. Many people have the bad habit of closing one eye, so the first eyes. Few also close the other eye, the latter eyes. In other words, I would say here, if all plants and animals die on Earth, then according to the time given to us on a planet, say Mars, a rational man, Homo sapiens, can still survive. Thanks God and the Progressive Party, this is the last hope for the genius human, but few long for eternal happiness. This is the reason why so many would rather be blind than see what they see. The world is rearming, and innocent people die in the war. I say this because secret regrets are even more cruel than public ones. While love, when it is done, is satisfactorily realized, it knows how to hide resentment, how to get rid of hatred. Now someone can with impunity accuse me of the contradiction that everything went pretty bad in my life. However, happy is this contradiction that leads to a benign morality while the laws remain bloody. Anyway, service and values often remain in the whole, while even the slightest suspicions of selfishness enter the office, come to the front. Here I want to say the more internally something touches me, then the harder it is for me to express it. Dear listener, you deserve to understand my intentions towards you. Hence, I want to be clear and understandable. It doesn't matter that the mighty of this world see us as sheep, doomed to slaughter. It doesn't matter that I also caress the serpent that devours us. I wore myself proudly in my life. We should constantly cultivate our garden, and now clean it even more, because it is high season. Autumn comes into the world outside the window. So let's stop being fanatic. In my life, more desires and dissatisfaction with real needs, I will still say, though I never been too delicious. While everything is necessary, everything that happens to me as well, all this while connected to the chain of necessity, I believe it tends to the best end. Someone will tell the latest story. It's just a joke made of that people. But it can always get better, I think. More than once I prayed to God briefly, "Oh Lord, make my enemies laugh." God hurt me. Nobody directs his feelings because they direct us. Moreover, we know nothing about the essence of our thinking, I believe. But we know what is in our common interest. Let's make sure we're honest with other people and that others are honest with us. so that all of us in the pile of shit can be less unhappy. A Negro once remarked, when we work in sugar factories, let's say according to the cogs, the tools of the machine, the latter grab our finger, cut off our arm. When we try to escape from falling into the cogs of machines, they cut off our leg. Such situation happened to me, I believe. This is the price for sugar being eaten in Europe. I guess he was right, nigger. When you replace reasoning with authority in his mind, he will no longer reason. It would become a toy for someone else's opinion. Emile Rousseau's Fosterlin would say, love creates heroes. If I choose with honor, my heart is ready to lose you. I love you too much, Julia, to keep you for this price. But can I forget Julia? I would rather forget myself because I can make me lonely for a while. I only represent something through you, Julia. The love that I have known can only be born out of mutual understanding and the harmony of souls. You do not love if you are not loved, or at least you do not love each other for long. Oh, power of heaven, I had a soul to suffer. Give me another soul for happiness. This is Rousseau. Said Plutarch another time, why did Pythagoras refrain from eating, choking on the flesh of animals? So I ask how the first man had the courage to bring to his mouth the murdered body, which had crushed the bones of a dying animal with its teeth. Which Homo prepared the dead bodies and corpses to be eaten and consumed, the limbs that a moment ago cried, roared, walked, and saw? How could his hand sink into iron, into the heart of a sentient being? How could his eyes stand murder? How could he bear the sight of the trembling body? How could the smell of this body make him sick? This body that he just embraced. Let us begin to understand how difficult it is to know the world. Personally, I do not know how to stand, where to sit to observe the world well, very well. The philosopher is too far from the animal's body, but the man of the world is too close to him. One sees too much to think, the other sees too little to judge the overall picture. It is easy to make better laws, but it is impossible to make laws that are not abused by human passions. The lesson is obvious. We would be tyrants, demanding the others believe as we do if we do not believe. We are monsters when we speak what we despise and persecute those who we deeply share. In short, mutual tolerance is the only remedy for errors that distort people's minds everywhere. Barbaric is the law of the tiger, but the scarier thing is that the tiger tears the flesh to shreds to eat it, and we exhausted ourselves for the sake of it. Is this our progress and prosperity now? Is the rush of raising children, leading and teaching? There is never enough resources or means to achieve the goal. I said, we want to establish footholds in their minds by rules without foundation, guidelines without explanation, and we prefer them to know some lessons, but also to lie, and not to be uneducated, but truthful. It is not about stopping the child from dying, but rather to teach them to live. To live well does not mean to breathe. To live well means to act. It means to use your organs, abilities, and all parts of your being that give us a sense of being. It was not the man who lived the longest, who lived the most years, but the man who felt life the most. Voltaire, Rousseau would say, lock the young lord and little country boy in the room. The first will overturn everything, destroy everything before the second starts to move. Why? For the first is in a hurry to take advantage of the moment of freedom, while the second, always sure of his freedom, never in a hurry to take advantage of it. And we are hungry for those innocent and meek creatures who, first of all, do not harm us. Here they cling to you, they attach themselves to you, they serve you, and you want to eat them as a reward? So don't hurt them. First, primum non nocere. I wish you health, and I admit that looking at this world, or rather a small world, I think that God gave it to some malicious creature sometimes. Fortunately, there are still dreams, intermedia, in a comedy played by human reason, imagination found alone at night, parodies the play that the mind played during the day. So let's find out what we want. Moreover, let us accept it all now as in the garden, even garden without grace. Now, let's try to improve our nature a bit without new paths. Let's work without unnecessary reasoning. It's the only way to make life bearable. Let us live for the best purpose. The truth shines with its own light. We may not have light at the moment, so I won't say anything else. Maybe just this. In rapture, sometimes I can find words, but in an ordinary conversation I find nothing, absolutely nothing. And every conversation is almost unbearable to me because I am forced to speak only sometimes. And nothing, but not for mutual understanding and reconciliation. I dare say that I have loved too sincerely, too perfectly, to be able to be happy easily. Perhaps no one has ever harbored passions more alive and pure at the same time. Love has never been more tender, sincere, more disinterested. Here, let me tell you, my poor performance with women has always been because I loved them too much. Friendship filled our hearts so perfectly that it would be enough for us to be together for the most modest pleasures, to be a delight. But nothing in this world is happening as much as we would like. A man loved by a beautiful woman will always make fun of any case, even with modern accusation of harassment, abuse. Let us not get mad at this. I beg you for the heavenly virtues. Keep today's pleasures flawless, that your mine, our beauty, will last and your happiness endless. Let us forget about the deliriums of great people. Let us remember the truths that have taught us. I finished thanking you for your understanding. If you like the quotes of the day, please do not hesitate to share this video with your loved ones or express your opinion in the comments.